these perpetrators that rape these women that are sitting behind you, that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
I'm talking.
If they're not privileged,
quiet.
Don't yell at me.
When Merrick Garland was head of the DOJ, they couldn't have cared less about this story. Frauds, every single one of them. And although Pam Bondi had a rough day today, she did level them on that point.
They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that?
Congressman Thomas Massie joins us now, and sir, thanks for coming back on. I want to start with you viewed the unredacted files, as did our guests last night. What did you see? Just start there.
Well, I can tell you who sent the torture video, because I'm the one that discovered it. They redacted the email, and so what I did is I got that email and I put it back into the DOJ computer and searched the rest of the Epstein files for that email. Was able to match it up with a man named Sultan bin Sulayman or something, and I forced the DOJ to admit to that on Monday. As far as the emails about the 10-year-olds or the 11-year-olds or whatever, I looked into that too. I found out it was a woman at a modeling agency, and they redacted it presumably because it was a woman, and they really redacted most of the women's names. The
belief there on the women is just real quick. They're redacting women under the idea, the premise that they might be victims themselves. But the allegation is now that some of these women were actually helping Epstein to find girls. Yeah. To find kids.
And that's probably the case. So, yeah. And then I found another document while I was over there where they had. This is an FBI document. It's not even a witness statement. The FBI prepared this document, and they listed Leslie Wexner as a co-conspirator to child sex trafficking, not just sex trafficking, child sex trafficking. And that's a 2019 FBI document. Yeah. So I came out publicly, and I said, the DOJ needs to unredact this, and they did. Now, Bondi's rebuttal to that is, oh, Les Wexner appears thousands of times in the documents we released. Yes, that's true, Ms. Bondi, but here's the problem. This is the only instance where he appears as a co-conspirator in a child sex trafficking crime. And that's the one instance they didn't release.
I guess the question is...
I asked her today if she can...
Not to cut you off, but my question is why is the Department of Justice protecting Leslie Wexner? Why would they be protecting the Sultan Ahmayed or whatever his last name is? What would possibly be the motive for that? That they're taking so much political hits here. Again, something they promised they would release. They all talked about how they couldn't wait to dig into all this stuff and release it to the people. It was a populist Trump coming back into the White House. What is happening? Why?
Well, so I asked Pam Bondi, can you tell me the individual who made that redaction? And that might, Rob, help us to know who, if she's in control, and maybe there's somebody trying to make her look bad. Or maybe there's somebody at the DOJ who's a carryover who's trying to protect Les Wexner in these files. I don't know. I don't know their motives. But they could have done the same thing that I did, Rob, before they released these files. They could say, okay, we've got an FBI document here that's labeled child sex trafficking, co-conspirators. Maybe we should look through this and see if these are all legitimate redactions. Why did they have to wait for me to go find them?
Do you believe that okay, so we have a handful of names now. There was 6 that were redacted. You've managed to get them unredacted. There's millions of pages that have been released. Do you believe that there are far more names than this? Do you believe there's a few more names than this? Do you believe that the 6 on the screen are the extent of what was redacted and are attempted to be protected by somebody inside the DOJ?
I believe there are at least a couple dozen names contained in the FBI 302 forms. These are the forms that the FBI fills out when they take statements from witnesses and victims. And so by talking to the victims' lawyers, I know that they've submitted names to the FBI. And the FBI, they put documents up on the website that if I could have searched them, I could have found those names. But before I was able to go over to the DOJ to search the unredacted documents, they pulled those down, those FD 302 forms that would have had those names.
So you believe there's a couple dozen names that are still in these files somewhere? I mean, we're very close to getting this transparency that we so desire. Do you think we get there? Do you think that we finally push through this and we get all the way through it and it all comes out?
Well, listen, Rob, when I co-wrote this legislation with Ro Khanna, we knew this was going to be a problem. So we put in the legislation that the DOJ has to release internal communications, emails, notes about decisions on whether to prosecute or not. So they need to give us the rest of what they're compelled by our legislation to give us, which would be the decisions about whether to prosecute Les Wexner or not. And when they do that, then I do think we can get to the bottom of it.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.